Hey guys, what's up? So, the topic I chose to talk about is the Neolithic Revolution, especially the domesticating humans part of it. When I was reading through, I thought that was kind of the most interesting thing to me. It's something I've always been interested in. I've always thought, I was like, the time we came up with farm is really just like farming abilities, is the time that the humans really became humans. And, it's true. It is the cornerstone in history. We went from hunting and gathering to working in cohesive groups and villages. And having a stable food income. So some of the sources I used for this was NAU. I read some just like reports and articles that professors have written, and then the historywebsite.com. Those were my primary two. Obviously, I used YouTube and a few other websites, kind of dabbling in to see what else I could find, but those are like my primary two that I read majority of my information from. So one of the things is the transition to agriculture. It brought about a lot of changes. Obviously, we needed to develop our society, so instead of working together in small little groups, we went to working in a lot larger groups and working together as a cohesive group, building villages and farmlands and homes and storage areas and roads, and even later down the line, merchant areas, like with stores and shops, I suppose, where trade could happen. That's really when we started developing, was during this agricultural change. Obviously, the formation of settled communities promoted a lot of technological advances, like water systems or irrigation systems for watering the lands, roads, and like I said, kind of working together as a community, each person building their own area and bringing it together instead of just everyone roaming around and living on their own and working together by themselves. Obviously, this had a lot of pros and cons to it. One of the big cons to it is the spread of disease and infections. Typically, before people would get diseases or any type of sickness, it would either just kill off the small group and everybody else would be okay, or they could recover quite quickly because it wasn't too many of them. Now, with just so many people living in such a confined area, on top of with all the animals and all the waste going on, and it kind of developed a lot more infections and diseases that we needed to combat with medicine. So it did help with a lot of medical advances. A lot of medicine was developed during this time to try to prevent these diseases, or medical practices to try to help out and reduce the risks of those. Some of the other ones was the environmental impact. The environment was obviously impacted quite a bit. To flatten out areas, move stuff around to try to fit in a nice village. Typically, people settled by the coast or by a water source of some sort. So those were the first areas to start losing trees and destroying wildlife to try to develop our own society. And with society, it came a lot of social changes. That's when a social hierarchy first started to be developed. Obviously, somebody with more land and more ability to farm and gather for food for the village, or it was a lot more important than somebody smaller, younger, or less useful. So with that was when the development of like kind of political changes happened, and then obviously way farther down the line is when we started developing kings and a hierarchy socially, was because of this. Another one was trade. Trade blew up at this point. We assumed that there was some trade beforehand, but this is when trade really took off because of the agricultural change. If one person's growing one type of crop and another person's growing a different one, obviously they would want to exchange some way. Also with tools and equipment, one person comes up with a plow, which was developed at this time, and someone else doesn't know what a plow is. They can trade food for a plow. This is when we really started to develop as a society, and that takes me to my next point, which we cognitively changed a lot and improved a lot, because not only do they think memory was a huge time, this is when memory got a lot better, because you have to remember to do multiple tasks a day instead of just kind of waking up and thinking, I need to go find the first animal I can find. you have to take care of your crops and grow them, and it takes time. It takes months to grow. But besides that, we also had to adapt cognitively by working together and communicating with each other a lot more than we did before. Like I said beforehand, you're working in small groups. Most of the people you knew, for the most part. Now you have people coming in by your village, joining the village. It's expanding slowly but surely. So you have to do a better job at working together as a cohesive group, because it's primary for you to survive. It's a necessity. Another thing that was interesting is it wasn't one uniform, from just as soon as we wake up one day and everybody was doing it. It was slowly started. The first one was in the Middle East, and then it slowly went to Asia, and in Europe and Africa, and kind of spread out from there. But it started around where Turkey is right now, and that's when that's the first sign that we have of the Neolithic Revolution.